a few things about Illinois Institute of Technology. We are a STEM-focused private university located in the city of Chicago. So we are in one of the third largest metropolitan areas within the nation, right in the Midwest. And so what's great about this opportunity, though, is that students who are maybe driven towards a STEM designated program would maybe gravitate towards our institution. And so really why I share this is I have two other fabulous panelists here, Pace University and the University of South Alabama. And I have traveled with their colleagues, with themselves, and we are three different unique places. And so what we're here to talk to you about today is really how to make your graduate application stronger, right? And really what it comes down to is making sure that you've done the research on maybe each of the three different universities that we have here, because everyone has a little bit of a different feel and a little bit different I would say expertise, right? Our faculty, we would love to say that they are stellar in every single subject area, maybe relating to engineering, but they do have specializations. And I share that now because I think that each of our institutions really do have really high specialized focuses, and that would help you specifically out as a graduate student. And so, perhaps my word of advice when you are looking at universities is to start doing that research now. You know, I really always do highlight the fact that we have about maybe 100 universities at this virtual fair. These are the 100 universities that said, we feel that these regions are very, very important for us and our university, and that is why we're here. So you might want to start off with going to each of the different booths after this event, speaking with each of our university representatives, because we in the United States have said we want to recruit students from Azerbaijan, from Belarus, from Georgia, from this Eurasia region, because there are about 5,000 universities. They could have all came, but we were the ones who raised our hand and said, we want to recruit students from this area. So again, I would say when you start looking at universities, start looking at the institutions that have what you are looking for specifically. Limit that down. Then maybe you want to think about location. Each of us have 3 different locations, and then you really want to do a deep dive into our university's websites and maybe start looking at curriculum vitae of our faculty members, because these are the people who are going to help you out within your educational experience at our universities. You know, with that being said, I might want to pass it along to one of my other colleagues, and then we can do that panel discussion as well. So.
Thank you very much, Samantha. So thank you very much for sharing this information. And now I would like to give the floor to Pace University, New York, Ms. Carla Corbett-Frank. So the floor is yours.
Hi, so thank you for having me, and thank you, Samantha. That was a great way to start off this panel. So I am from Pace University, which is located in New York City. We have 2 campuses, one directly in New York City, right next to the Brooklyn Bridge, and then we have one about 45 minutes north in Westchester County. So kind of jumping off what Samantha said, something interesting about our university is that we have 2 different locations. So even upon doing your research of a specific university, within that university, you might get 2 different campuses or a bunch of different schools that have different feels to them as well. So for example, our New York City campus is a lot more, if you are interested being directly in an urban city, having kind of a disjointed campus, as opposed to our Westchester campus, is what you see in like movies about colleges, with the combined acreage and schools connected and built wider rather than taller. Something else that I would suggest for students if you're, you know, trying to attend graduate school is a big part of attending graduate school is preparing yourself for professional development. So you really want to look at what you want to do with your degree and then how that university can kind of help you achieve those goals. So looking into their career services department, internship opportunities, maybe some different alumni, kind of digging deep into what the degree can offer you themselves, as well as then when you're applying, providing information about what you've done in that career. If you've had any experience in those industries? What has inspired you to kind of, be involved with that and apply to those specific programs? So a big purpose of getting your graduate degree is preparing you for that professional life after a second degree. So it's just very important to make sure you're doing that research as well. Thank you.
Thank you for the information, Carly. And once again, before giving the floor to Hannah, I would like to highlight for our attendees, if you have any questions related to graduate studies, graduate applications, or how to get to the graduate degrees, how to apply for PhDs and masters at US universities, feel free to type your questions to the university representatives, so they will answer your questions in these panel discussions. And now with that, I would like to give the floor to Hannah Murphy from University of South Alabama.
Hi, thank you so much. And thank you for giving us the opportunity today to talk to you about the graduate application and the process that goes into determining which schools you want to apply to. My name is Hannah, and I'm with the University of South Alabama. We are a medium-sized public institution in the southern part of the United States, in a city called Mobile. We have about 14,000 students on our campus, and we offer a variety of different degrees at the undergraduate, master's, and PhD levels. So like Samantha mentioned at the very beginning, 3 very different universities on the panel here today, and kind of representative of the wide variety that you'll find in the US in general. So that research piece is going to be incredibly important as you begin this process. Definitely taking time to look into the websites and the specializations that the faculty have, as well as then those professional development opportunities as well. So as you're thinking about your graduate application, the website is a great place to go to make sure you have all of the materials needed for your application. So what kind of exam scores are going to be required? Language proficiency, GRE or GMAT, your transcripts, of course, and then really taking time to work on that statement of purpose. Making sure that you're looking at the specifics for your program. Perhaps they have a very specific prompt that they want you to answer as part of that personal statement or statement of purpose. Or perhaps they want to have you talk about a specific aspect of your background. But you definitely want to be connecting it to why this program at this university. So that's where that research that my colleagues talked about will come into play. Really taking the time to give yourself an opportunity to write that, have multiple drafts, have it looked at, get feedback, all of those writing process things. And then your letters of recommendation, making sure that you are reaching out to instructors, advisors, someone you might have done a research project with. If you have professional experience, somebody from that portion of your life, really somebody who can talk about your background, your academics, somebody who can talk about the academic performance and then also your potential for success in graduate school. These are opportunities for an admissions committee to really get to know you as an applicant aside from just the numbers. We see your grades, we see your exam scores that you submit. That tells us one thing. These letters of recommendation and your statement of purpose tells us a different side that we can't necessarily see in those numbers. So you do want to take the time to do your research and to allow yourself time, allow your recommenders time as well to get those recommendations in so that you are meeting the deadlines for the different programs. Deadlines are going to differ institution to institution, even within different graduate programs in one institution. So it's a big undertaking to get ready to apply to graduate school. But this is why we're here. We want to be able to answer your questions and make you feel as prepared as possible after this panel.
Thank you very much, Hannah. So thank you all for the great information you shared for our students, attendees. And we have questions in the chat box, so I will read that out, and I would like you all in the same order to respond to that specific questions. So a question from student: what kind of approach should a prospective graduate applicant take towards a personal statement? Do you prefer traditional one with an academic tone, or a creative and a bit informal one? Someone.
That's a really good question. And I really think this goes down to the type of university you're applying for. For my institution specifically, I think if someone came with a poem, we would be very confused. The reason for that is we're a STEM focused university. So we focus heavily on science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. We have programs like law, architecture. So if, let's say, you were applying for a creative arts program or a creative writing program, I think there would be expectation in something a little bit more of a creative tone. But I really do think that that should be more so supplemental to that personal statement, that statement of purpose as to why you're looking at studying at the university, why you've chosen this specific major, and what you hope to gain with the education and the knowledge from this particular program. And so with that being said, I'll, if you don't mind, can I break down the personal statement a little bit more? Because one of the things that I've realized is students forget their purpose and audience, right? And again, the purpose of why you're writing it is because your goal is to get into graduate school. Your goal is for this admissions committee, which is comprised of faculty you'll be working with, admission committee, maybe deans of the university, of that program as well. And what they're trying to gauge is your expertise. They're trying to gauge if you would be the right fit. Do you have the personality? Do you have the abilities as well as the professionalism now to be just admissible and to be able to finish the degree with, hopefully, if it's a master's program, 2 years, or if it's a doctoral program within maybe that 6-year span, right? Because what the personal statement does is it actually gives you a voice within your application. And I know Hannah already said that, like, our goal for you as a student to apply is really to understand you as the applicant. So even though it's nice that you might have a creative background, perhaps add that as a supplementary piece as opposed to it being your main personal statement. Again, programs may differ though. So again, I'm only speaking from a STEM program. So again, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Perhaps our prompts are going to be different, but usually and typically the question really is, why do you want to pursue this degree and what do you hope to gain from it? If you are creative and you can write something in there beautifully, that doesn't deter from those questions, I think you'll be okay. However, again, I would maybe add that as a supplemental piece. And again, I just joke, I don't know if you're writing a poem or if you're doing a YouTube video. Again, have those as supplementary things, but not part of that main application personal statement.
Yeah, jumping off of that, and I believe Hannah kind of dove into this a little bit, is that when you have different programs in different schools, you know, what they might be looking for, even just within your one university, might be different. So for Pace University, we have our business school, which is kind of one of our most popular programs. And we started off as a business school, so it's some of our more developed programs. What we want to see in your personal statement is anything that will make you look better in that professional sense of whatever program you're doing. And if maybe some of your grades were lower in those specific courses, like if you're applying to a graduate program in accounting and some of your accounting grades were lower in your undergraduate, kind of supplementing your personal statement with anything that can boost your application and, you know, let us and the faculty that we work with know why that happened and how you can improve. Something funny though is that we actually do have a media and communications program at Pace University. So when Samantha was joking about a poem, diving in and looking into what your program is asking you to, because if you provide that poem for that program, that could actually be something that is acceptable. We do ask students to submit a portfolio. So this would be, you know, either a couple of different writing samples. I've had students submit different forms of art, whether that be pictures of physical art or different like multimedia PDFs. You name it, I've seen it in terms of that kind of portfolio. So it really is important in finding the prompt for your university and then truly understanding what supplements or what is really being asked of you, because you do have a little bit of flexibility in your personal statement. I've, you know, and I'm sure both of my colleagues have too, it's nice to get that refreshing, different essay, one that is going to make you stand out and that is very interesting to read, but it still has to relate to what the prompt is and be relevant to the program in which you're applying for.
I would say that my colleagues' two different answers to that question really highlights the idea that it's going to depend. You'll hear that answer a lot as you talk to US universities about a lot of different topics or questions that you have, because there are so many universities and we are different in a lot of different ways. And so as you think about the type of statement of purpose, the type of supplemental materials that you're going to be submitting as part of your application, it really is going to depend on the program that you're applying to and what they have on their website that they say they want to see as part of that application. So if you looked at a program and they didn't have those more creative pieces as part of their application, then perhaps that should give you your answer that you want to go with the more academic formal tone. Whereas let's say you're looking at the program that Carly was just telling us about, then you know that that's an opportunity for you to get a little more creative and have some different types of materials as part of your application. But I think looking for kind of generalized answers is sometimes a disservice to you as an applicant, because that's not always going to be the case. We can tell you how it is at our institutions, but I really would suggest starting at a website of the program that you're interested in applying to, and see what they are saying they want to hear, and then letting that kind of guide you as you go through that process of writing your personal statement, getting your supplemental materials together. Because what is going to be good for one program at one institution may not be exactly what you would want to be submitting for a different program or a different institution with that same program.
Okay, thank you very much for covering the question, and thank you for this holistic answer to the question. So another question is, what are the most popular majors in your schools?
Yeah, that's a great question, because I think at the end of the day, we might all have similar backgrounds or similar programs, but I think for Illinois Tech, anything in the science field. So what we really are known for are engineering programs, computer science, artificial intelligence, but our architecture program is actually world renowned. Just to give you some fun facts about the university. The university was designed by a man who is the father of minimalism. So his name is Mies van der Rohe. If you are an aspiring architect, chances are you've studied him already, but he coined that term less is more. So, just to provide that insight for the university, but we also definitely have really great programs in business. But I would definitely say our key programs are really anything in the sciences, technology, and engineering, mathematics.
For Pace University, I would say, and I kind of touched on it a little bit before, business is probably our most popular program. Our Manhattan campus is located right down the street from Wall Street, which is like the business capital of the world. So we do have a lot of students who, you know, if they live on campus, are able to roll out of bed and walk to their internship at, you know, varying companies located on Wall Street. Outside of that, I would also actually say that our performing arts program is pretty popular. It's pretty competitive just because we are, you know, located in New York City, which is also home to Broadway. So we do have a lot of students who are interested in musical theater come and attend our performing arts program. But we do have, you know, different schools and different majors that apply kind of all across the board. So we do have a School of Arts and Sciences where you're going to find those nursing, biochemistry programs. We have a School of Education, and for our international students, TESOL is probably the most popular, which is teaching English as a second language. And then we also have some computer science programs and information science programs. But I would say our most popular are probably the business programs.
And at the University of South Alabama, our most popular programs are engineering, computer science, business, and healthcare programs. And so similar to my colleagues here, that's, you know, these kind of broader degrees or like specific colleges of engineering or computing. And then you'll find different degrees within all of those different areas.
Great, thank you very much. So another question from our attendees is work experience or internship required for entering master's program? This is one great question and the commonly asked question from students side.
Yeah, that is a really good question. Now, I'm going to be honest, at one point when we required, let's say the GRE or GMAT for this upcoming fall of 2021, we are test optional just because we have understood that some of the testing centers have closed and it's limited students' ability around the globe to be able to take the GRE or GMAT. So the reason why I share that is traditionally, let's say you have not taken the a standardized test in over 10 years, right? That is a long time. And just so all of a sudden for us to expect a student to take the GRE or GMAT, focus on calculus and mathematics and the verbal part of the GRE, I would say this is now your time where if you have the work experience, you could have waived out of that. So again, I share that now because some universities might be changing their test requirements. I would say for our institution, we have waived it, the GRE and GMAT for the 2021 term. Now, in terms of work experience, it's not necessarily required. We have had very successful students who started off university at the age of 21 or 22, but what really has impacted their abilities is really what they did in their undergraduate studies, or perhaps if maybe you have 1 year of experience, that's helpful. It's not a requirement, but really in this test optional world, what I'm going to definitely recommend to all the students here is that you as a student have really done really well when it comes to specifically your personal statement, your letters of recommendation, getting a resume out there. And even though you're like, well, perhaps all I did was volunteer, it still shows that you've done something or you've been passionate about something else outside of just your studies. So, when it comes to internships, it's helpful. It's not required. It perhaps though might give you, I would say, they say a leg up, but really a benefits when you are maybe looking for a professor who might have the same research expertise or work experience as you. And so that's kind of where it is helpful, but it's not required to have that work experience. Now, I kind of shared that some of our institutions are test optional. We may though require an English proficiency test. So whether it's the Duolingo, TOEFL, or IELTS, we're still looking for you to show your proficiency in a language. But I would say the other benefit for work experience is now you have perhaps someone who can recommend your expertise and your knowledge and your skill sets outside of the academic setting. So perhaps if it's your employer, they can actually write a letter of recommendation for you. So I hope that, I know that that was a lot, but I hope that that was helpful for you to take away.
Yeah, I mean, kind of reiterating what Samantha said, work experience and internships are not required. What they can really do is they can help your application. They can't hurt your application. So if your undergraduate GPA, you know, wasn't where you wanted it to be for whatever reason, that work experience or internship experience can give us a reason to, you know, dive deeper, get faculty involved who are, you know, helping us make these decisions in terms of who we are accepting. Because from my own personal experience, I found that the way that I performed in my undergraduate and then the experience I received in the professional world may not have overlapped as much as I thought they would. So even if I didn't necessarily do well in a specific course, the experience that I got in a job supplements that because I learned a completely different skill that who knows if I, you know, would have learned anywhere else. So I would definitely say that it's just going to help you. It won't hurt you if you don't have it, because we do have students who just come directly from undergraduate, which, you know, is completely fine as well. So yeah, just definitely good to highlight, but don't stress out too much about it if you don't have, you know, 10 years of experience somewhere.
Yeah, I completely agree with what my colleagues have said. I just want to reiterate that if you have it, if you have that work experience, you have that internship experience, that's definitely something you can include. Like Carly said, it will not hurt your application. It will help your application, but don't let not having work experience be something that stops you from beginning the researching process, looking into the programs that you want. If a specific program does require work experience, it will say so directly on the website, and you'll know right away that that is something that is required. You might find some programs that do have a work experience requirement, but again, that's something that's going to differ institution to institution, program to program. But definitely take a look at those websites. They are very detailed in what they're looking for. So if you don't see a work experience requirement, don't let the fact that you don't have that work experience stop you from applying, stop you from reaching out to people like ourselves or the graduate program coordinators from those different programs.
Thank you very much again. So another question from our students. Hello, my name is Eugenia Dalichuk. It's extremely nice to attend this lecture and hear from you. Now I'm 19 years old and I'm from Belarus, but currently I'm living in Poland, Warsaw. And I'm getting my bachelor degree in management and marketing. I would like to continue my education in the US and get master's degree in marketing. I would like to know everything about timelines, schedule exams, preferences, financial aid, possibilities of getting full financial aid.
I'm happy to start off with this one. That's wonderful. I think what you have is very a unique experience. It's very global. And I think that when it comes to the US universities, every institution will differ when it comes to financial assistance and what they offer. And so really, you know, sorry, I'm looking at your question at on a different screen, but it says, you know, if you would like to continue in the United States for marketing specifically, you know, you're asking about the timeline. All of our timelines are going to be a little different. This is where I might recommend after this session, jumping into each of the different booths that we have right after this presentation and learning a little bit about when our deadlines are. And part of the reason why I share that is because what my deadline is might be different than PACE's or South Alabama. So you really want to make sure that you find the right university for you and the right fit. In terms of exams, again, that will differ depending on university. I would say the GRE GMAT has been waived for some of the universities, but the English proficiency is still a requirement for those institutions. And in terms of the financial aid possibilities, this is really where I'm grateful that I am in this opportunity to speak with you and my team members here, because really what we're looking for is, I think what I've said to students is, I wouldn't necessarily ask for full funding. I would say, show us that you deserve full funding. That's the difference in a student who really deserves it, as opposed to someone who's like, but I'm good. And what I mean by that is, when you think about all of the students who are applying to universities across the United States, what makes you stand out than everyone else? Why are you so unique that this university should not turn you down? And if you can write that within your application, if you can exemplify why you deserve the scholarship as opposed to asking for it, that changes the whole tone. So what I mean by that is, I've had students say, oh, but I have like an okay GPA, right? And they're like, I haven't done anything in regards to research, or I haven't done anything into work experience. But if you can say that these are all of the things that I've done, but even before I've graduated, that's going to change the tone for universities. So if maybe you're interning in Poland, or if when you go back home, you have like work experience during the summers, those are things that really change the tone of your application that can really benefit you. And I know Carly has a really great business program, so, and then Hannah as well. So I'm going to let them also share their feedback from their institutions.
Yeah, I mean, I think what Samantha said was, really on point and excellent, like to answer the question. In terms of timeline, it really is, and I'm sure this can be a frustrating answer. It is very dependent on the school and even the specific program. We have certain programs that need a full year for review, because there are different stages in terms of meeting with specific faculty, doing an interview. There are more competitive programs with specific slots, as opposed to, some of our more general degrees. For our, management and marketing degrees, Pace University is a rolling admission university, meaning we have a lot of suggested deadlines, but for the most part, you can pretty much apply to the program anytime that you want. It's a benefit because you have flexibility in when you can submit everything, but you want to make sure that you're submitting everything early enough that if you're planning to do in-person study, you have enough time to communicate with the admissions office so that we're able to issue you a visa. So you need issue an I-20, excuse me. We do need specific documentation in order to issue an I-20 so that you're able to make a visa appointment. So it is important to just, usually the earlier that you apply, it's easy to kind of get that communication flowing with the admissions department to understand what you need, what you're missing. So I usually suggest, once you have everything, the best thing to do is submit your application. But just try and make sure that you're not rushing, because it can be a very, frustrating position to have your acceptance, have your I-20, but not have enough time to get a visa and arrive to campus on time. In terms of financial aid and scholarship, I'm sure like our university does scholarship based on merit. So depending on what your GPA was in undergraduate programs is how we determine your scholarship. We don't offer full scholarship for our graduate programs, but we do have something called a graduate assistantship, which I'm sure is available at these two universities as well, which can help you fund your program at 50% or 100%. Now, as Samantha was saying, this is where you're going to want to tell us why you deserve that assistantship, because they are very competitive, and they are, determined per faculty, per program. and with different offices. So it's not just you're going to arrive at PACE and automatically get a graduate assistantship. It is going to be something that you communicate with faculty about, and you go through kind of a long process, because it is competitive. Many students want their graduate education funded completely. I mean, it just makes sense. So just really creating the base now for you to be that top applicant in order to receive that kind of funding.
I think this is another area too where you do want to be in communication with the representatives from the institutions that you're looking at. Getting very familiar with people like ourselves, as well as faculty members or graduate program coordinators from the different programs, because I joke that you're going to hear this answer a lot, but it's because you really do. All of these things depend on the program and the university that you're applying to. So if at South specifically, we have different requirements for our different graduate programs. We have different deadlines. We have different exam scores, and that's all within one institution. Now think about times 4,000, right? So 3 institutions here today, if we went through the requirements for, a similar program, you would find that they are all different. So that is one of those things. I know that it may not be the answer you're looking for always, for us to just say, well, you're going to have to look at the website, you're going to have to talk to the different representatives. But today is a great day to do that. You can see the different graduate programs that the different universities have. Do they have the degree that you're looking for? If so, great, start a chat. That's what we're here to do, to tell you all about the specifics for our programs, because they will differ. And there may be one priority deadline for the institution, but certain programs only have a fall intake and have a very set deadline. So again, it's those differences that do exist that you want to make sure you're giving yourself enough time to research and get organized, so that you're not missing deadlines, you're not missing materials, because your applications are going to look a little different.
Thank you very much. I saw Samantha answer to one of the following questions. Actually, I was going to read 2 questions in one, because those 2 are kind of the same, have the same meaning. But I will read both out loud so students know that it was out here. So good afternoon. If my bachelor degree in linguistics, Chinese language, can I apply for STEM program as my master degree? Thank you. And the other question is similar one. My bachelor degree is different from what I want to study on my master. Is this a problem, or you don't pay attention to that difference?
That's a really good question. I know I answered it to the student who says, hey, I have a linguistics in Chinese. To be honest, maybe the universities might have flexibility just because of maybe the student population, or, they really are looking for that diverse background. I would say now it depends, right? I know even within the chat box, someone had asked about the data science, and I said, for us, these are courses that we have to have those prerequisites in. So let's say that you are thinking about going into, I'm going to fill in the blank, computer science, right? And if it's more of a technical particular program at the university, we would be specifically looking at that you have knowledge. Now, I have seen it done before where a student has a completely different major. This is where maybe that work experience might help them, right? So let's say that, yes, I studied Chinese, I was employed at maybe like a technical firm, and I was able to use my Chinese language ability, which is amazing. We like to see that. That's really where your work experience can change your application dramatically. In addition to that, we're looking at your letters of recommendation, because the Chinese language ability is great, but what it doesn't show to us is that you have that STEM designated like career path and trajectory. So again, show to us, demonstrate to each of the universities here that maybe within your resume, that you have the potential to do well in that. I would say a few other things, and every university will be different, but some universities have certificate programs. So maybe you can take these online, and then that way you're showing to the university that you are dedicated to trying to learn and master the knowledge and then to be successful in that course later on. So again, the certificate programs might be offered online, so you don't have to fly to the United States, but you're then taking courses that may potentially transfer into their master's program in that STEM designated program. Illinois Tech has that. So if you do have questions, again, every university will be just a little different.
Yeah, once again, it is different per program. So even our computer science program, we have prerequisites that you can take in your course of study, but then you have to understand that you might be taking more credits than you originally thought you were going to be taking. So the computer science program is 30 credits, but if you don't have that background, you might have to take 9 credits of prereqs, which is just something to keep in mind too. Sometimes if you don't have that direct major, you can take prerequisites at the institution. It might just take you longer to complete the course of study.
And again, this is where talking to people like ourselves, talking to graduate program coordinators, looking at the websites is going to be a huge help, because you'll see when they are talking about the degrees that they require, the different documents they require, you might see an undergraduate degree in civil engineering or related field. Or it'll say something like, if you don't have an undergraduate degree in business, but you want to apply to an MBA, that you may have to have specific course prerequisites. So that's the kind of information that is going to be different institution to institution, but is definitely available for you on the program websites.
Thank you very much, Hannah, and all panelists. Thank you very much for these responses to the questions. We have a few more questions, and I saw Samantha responding to some of them. Thank you for that. And we have 5 minutes maximum to finalize the panel. And the question again, how do you think that the application process will go for international students this year? I have been discouraged to apply to US graduate schools this year because of the pandemic situation. I have been told that the universities may abstain from accepting internationals because of lack of funding and other related issues. How would you comment on this? I would kindly ask to give just short, concise responses to every question so that we can be on time with this. Thank you very much.
Yeah, wonderful. To be honest, I think each of our universities, every university at this fair, still feels that you are always welcome on our campuses. I don't think that you should let what's happening discourage you from applying to the universities. If something were to happen, the universities this year have been flexible. For us, we have done online opportunities in addition to deferring enrollment. So that should not hinder you from applying to our universities. And so I'll let Carly kind of share her background, her institution's background on this.
Yeah, I mean, just like Samantha said, we are always welcoming of international students. I understand, right now this time can be difficult for many people, but just as Hannah has really said, it's so important to contact your admissions department and maybe let them know that you are feeling discouraged, and we are here to help you. We want you to come to our campuses. And we do also, many schools have taken a turn and really dive deep into online learning, because for most students, that's kind of the most flexible option right now. So just really try and connect with your admissions department, because we want you here and we want to do our best to get you here. So we want to work with you and, you know, be as encouraging as we possibly can be. So that's what I would say.
And I'll just echo what my colleagues have said. We're here at this fair because we want to welcome you onto our campuses. Um, and and we understand that it's a much different time to be applying to graduate school than the past few years. So that's why we're here. We want to assist you through this process. We want to answer your questions. As you go throughout the fair today, make sure you get everybody's contact information. You know, it might be, they might have links where you can set up a one-on-one video call. Maybe they have their Zoom room available today so you can chat with them via video. So this is really an opportunity for you to gather, you know, our contact information as a resource and then use that resource as you go through the process. Let us know when you have questions. Let us know the different things that are going on. And that's really why we're here, because we do want to have that continued conversation with you as you go through the process of researching your options and deciding where you're going to apply.
Thank you very much. Thank you to all our panelists today. And the rest questions I have received in the chat, and as you can see, are mostly the questions related to the answers that you already covered. So with that, I would highly encourage all students who are attending this panel now, with those specific questions, they can refer to the booths of each university and ask those specific questions to each university representative. Thank you very much. And I would like to thank you to all attendees as well for these great questions and for keeping these panel discussions so busy today. Thank you very much and enjoy the fair all together.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a nice time.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, thank you.
Bye-bye. So, dear attendees, thank you all for participation in this panel discussion. And now I would highly encourage you to go to the university booths and talk to each university representative specifically, like through private chats or through public chat, to get more information about those specific details you are interested in about these universities' admission process, requirements, minimum scores required, and all these details. But we are here for we will be here for the next meeting. Before we go to the next meeting at after 10 minutes, we would like you all to go to the university representatives and talk to them in private.